Well, my name's Paul Mackney. I'm Associate Director Further Education for NIACE, and this is probably my last AOC conference because I'll be retiring next year. But it's an exciting but also quite frightening time. The recession has made the government rethink a lot of its assumptions. It has to be said the Leach report is under severe question, not for its analysis of the problems, but for its prescription for the solutions, because it's difficult to see in a recession how an entirely employer-led, based on what the employers are demanding, training system is going to meet the training needs of the recession. And it's good to see that whilst the name Train to Gain remains, there appears to be some flexing up of that scheme to recognise that it needs more creative solutions, and not all the demand is going to come from employers, which is what, of course, NIACE has been saying for some time. We've been concerned because a large number of adult education courses have been cut or lost is perhaps a more accurate description in the past few years. So over the last 2 years there have been almost 1.5 million adult course places which have gone. And one of the points we wanted to get across here is to say that actually there's a lot of value which is being lost there, and there's a danger if it continues like that of course colleges won't invest in tutors, they won't invest in the relevant equipment, and the ability to provide those courses will be gone forever. And whilst we are talking about language courses and leisure courses, we're not only talking about those. They have value, but the ones which the biggest losers are approaching 500,000 in health, public services and care, 400,000, almost 400,000 in information and communication technology courses, and 250,000 in preparation for life courses. Now there you've got 500,000, 400,000, 250,000 courses which in the government's own, in my view, over-skewed terms, over-skewed towards what Leach called economically valuable skills and employability. We've been arguing for the return of a broader approach to adult learning, and also for the government to listen to the adult learners. NIACE has been one of 5 organisations which established something called the CALL campaign, Campaigning Alliance for Lifelong Learning. It's it's an add-on to what NIACE does. It's part of an alliance with initially the National Union of Students, the Union for the Tutors, University and College Union, the Union for the Support Staff, Unison, and the Workers' Education Association. And they have basically, in arguing for a rethink of the policy and in wanting to see a return of some of the general adult education course provision, publicly funded course provision, they've set up this campaign and have attracted an astonishing number of organisations to support it. It's over 100 organisations now. Many of the calls or emails come to me, so on one day I got the Rail, Maritime and Transport Trade Union phoning up and saying they wanted to support CALL, and later that day the National Federation of Women's Institutes indicated their support. And so the groups that have actually suffered are not just the pensioners. Actually the key target group for the government has been skilled manual workers, and there's been a drop in the last year of 70% in participation in adult learning by sociologists call them C2s, which is kind of lower middle class, skilled working class, the very group that the government wants to raise the education and skill level of. So we're saying let's have a serious rethink about that. And it was good to hear John Denham yesterday at the end of his speech saying that obviously, I mean, he's a politician, everything's going perfectly, but on the other hand, if you read between the lines, there's a fair amount of rethinking going on. And he did say that he was going to engage with the call campaign to discuss what's going on. He's meeting with Alan Tuckett, the director of NIACE, today, I think, to discuss things. He's meeting with all the organisations, well, not all the organisations, the founding organisations. So the other key thing that I'm here for is disability, staff disability equality in lifelong learning. There was a NIACE-funded commission of inquiry, which was called the Commission for Disabled Staff in Lifelong Learning, which did a report which came out earlier this year. And then one of the recommendations was that Lifelong Learning UK, LLUK, would, the Sector Skills Council for the sector, would set up an implementation group, because there were recommendations in the report, and the implementation, I chair the implementation group, and we're here to get, I don't know if you can get this on the picture, but we're here to get people to sign up for something called the Disability Equality Commitment, and you certainly won't get this on the picture unless you really zoom, but there are 11 points we're asking every college, every university, every lifelong learning institution, libraries and youth centres and so on, to sign up to. Because whilst, if we take further education, it's often been very good in terms of looking at its provision for students, actually it hasn't been very good at looking at what are called in the law reasonable adjustments for disabled staff. And it has problems dealing fairly with people who become disabled in employment. There's far too much of a tendency, rather than to work with what people still can do and encourage them to develop more in that area. And people are frightened with, or just don't know how to encourage that. And so some people find themselves on a sort of slope to ill health, retirement, or sometimes quite early in their career, when actually they've got a lot more to offer. Similarly, there are people who in their trades, if we can use that term still, rather an old-fashioned term, but plumbers, for example, who now find it difficult to get under a sink because their back's gone or whatever, who can come in later in life. I mean, they don't want to come into teaching often early on because they can earn more on the tools. They can earn more plumbing than they can teaching plumbing. But if they have a physical impairment or whatever, obviously something they can do if they find actually doing the job of plumbing difficulty is pass on their skills to the next generation. So if this week I can persuade some of the 1,400 people here that they should sign this, which is the Disability Equality Commitment, and they will support the call campaign, which is probably the biggest adult education campaign there's ever been, because people are very uneasy about what's been going on, then it will have been a good week.